Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this a beautiful hat. Now what I've realised is this kind of looks like a bluebell. If you do this in a blue or a nice pretty flower colour, you could make this for a child and it's really pretty. Now I've done it in this sort of flaming colour, and this is King Cole Riot yarn. I don't have the label now because I went and actually I think I put it in the bin when I've done some tidying up. Now you can use any yarn for this. It's done with a UK double crochet in the back loop of the stitch. I'll show you how to do that, and you can use any yarn you like and use the hook size it tells you on your chosen yarn label. Now you can have it folded up like this so the peaks are not at your face. It's beautiful for children, brilliant for adults, and look at this absolutely amazing pattern. It is a beautiful pattern. Now it doesn't look like much when it's like this, but it does stretch out. It does stretch out. It is beautiful, absolutely stunning. There's no increase, no decreasing. It's a really good cheap way of making a hat, and when you make it, the peaks of the top of the hat make this a beautiful little star pattern. And you can do it any colour. You can do it for men, even though it's got this little bit on the top. You only see it's a star pattern when it's like that. It's beautiful. It's easy. Now this hat, the way it works out is absolutely beautiful. It's like it's all layered on top of each other. It's like there is so many layers all just laying on top for the way this hat is done. Now you can make it into a scarf. There is a video before this one. I'll put it down in the box at the end of the video where you can find the link to the scarf for this, or just look on my channel in the videos. Now this hat is done with 5 sets of 19 stitches, and then you add another 15 stitches to complete the pattern on it. I'll show you that in the video as well. And your chain count is sets of 19 stitches. Do as many of the 19 as you want. I've done 5, and then add an extra 15 stitches to keep the pattern symmetrical. So I'm going to show you how to do this beautiful hat. So I'm going to do my chain, and I'm going to do it in sets of 19 stitches, and then at the end I'll add an extra 15 stitches. So I'm doing a slip knot. If you can't do a slip knot, just put your hook down and tie it on. Just use the hook size it tells you to use for the yarn that you've got. If you want a more open pattern, then use a half size or 1 size bigger hook. That's up to you if you want to do that. So I'm going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Now it looks a lot, but when you think it's going to get bent up like that, it's not. So do as many sets of 19 as you want the width of your scarf, your wrap or your blanket done in. So I've done my chain. I've done 4 sets of 19. I've done 4 sets of 19. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an extra 15 stitches. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and 15. So that gives me my chain. Now into the second stitch in your chain, you can write this down if you want, you can write it down. So into the second stitch you're going to put 3 UK double crochets, and if you're in the USA these are single crochets. That's the only stitch you'll be using. So for the foundation chain we're going to just go right through the stitch. So that's 1, 2 and 3. Now we're going to be working in sets of 7 and 5. So that is 3 stitches, and we need to go down until we get to 7. So we're going to use 4 of the next stitches. So count that as 1, 2 and 3. Into the next stitch, that one's 4, into the next one, that's 5, into the next one, that's 6 and 7. So we've got 3 in at the beginning, that's 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Now you're going to skip 4 stitches, 4. So skip 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now the next stitch you do is going to be stitch 1. So skip 4 and go into the next stitch. So that is stitch 1. Into the next one we need 7. So into the next one that's stitch 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Now into the next stitch you're going to put 5. This is the top of the peak. Now you can, if you're a beginner, into that first stitch you can put a marker if you want, so you know where you're going to work into. So what I'm going to do is, if you're a beginner or even if you're not, it might be worthwhile putting a marker in to that first stitch that you did here, because when you do your next round you're going to put 3 into that stitch and you need to know where it is. So I've got 1, 2, 3. I'm going to keep this one because I'm going to put it in the other end, so that when I'm working back and forward I know where that very last stitch is, because we're going to go into the back loops. After this foundation we're going to do a back loop. It's always going to work into the back loop. So I'll pop that down there. So from our skipped 4 we've done 7 stitches up. So into the next stitch you're going to put 5 stitches. 5, 1 into the same stitch, 2 into the same stitch, 3 the same stitch, 4 and the same stitch, 5, and you get that peak. So you've got your first down in the valley and you go up and do your first peak. Now what's going to happen is, when you put 5 in, don't let that stitch get squashed or you won't have enough when you get to the end. So make sure that when you've put that 5 in, you're not going to lose that next stitch. So into there we're going to work 7 stitches down. So that's 1, into the next one, 2, into the next one, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Now what you're going to do now is you're going to skip 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 and into the next one. This becomes stitch 1. 1, working up the way, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So we're at the top peak. Into the next stitch you're going to put 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now you're going to work down 7. Make sure you don't lose that stitch that's there. It's 1, down, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Now you're going to skip 4. So you'll be doing 7 stitches, skip 4, 7 up, then you'll put 5 in the next stitch, work 7 down, skip 4, work 7 up and put 5 in the next stitch. So we've done the peak, so we're going to skip 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. That's stitch 1. So into the next one, stitch 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So into the next stitch we're doing a peak, because we've done the one down the way, we're going to do the peak at the top. So that's 5 into the next stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now don't let your stitch, your next one, get skipped. So into the next stitch, 1, working down, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Skip 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 and into the next one. So that's stitch 1. Work up to 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Now into the next stitch put 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work down 7. So work down 1, 2, 3, 4, get some more yarn, 5, 6 and 7. Now we're going to do the last half part of the peak. You're going to skip 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now into the next stitch. This is stitch 1. We should have 4 and 1 at the end. We only should have 5 left here. So that's stitch 1, stitch 2, stitch 3 and stitch 4. Now into my last stitch I'm going to put 3 double crochets, and these are single crochets for you if you're in the USA. So into your last stitch put 3, 1, 2 and 3 to pull that a little bit tighter. Now what happens here is when you skip 4 stitches, 2 on this side and 2 on this side, the 3 stitches here replaces the 2 that you skipped here. And on the peaks you've got 5 stitches. So 2 of them replaces the 2 skip stitches on that side and the 2 skip stitches on that side. So when you put 5 in, it's replacing the 4 that you're skipping, and this is what you have. Check that you're going down and up and down and up and down and up, just to make sure that you haven't done 2 downs or 2 ups. Do your peaks and your little valleys, and this is what you have. So you've got 1, 2, 3, I've got 4 peaks on mine, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'll have 5 of the peaks going down the way. Remember, you've only got 2 halves here, and that's what makes this beautiful pattern. So to do the pattern, what we're going to do now is I'm going to move that off to the side. Keep a hold of your pin. You're going to chain 1 for the next row. This is when you measure it and make sure it's the size that you want it. If it's not, do you see how much it's pulled in? It's pulled in almost half the amount of the chain that we had. So make sure when you do this pattern that you do your chain long enough, because it will shrink in. So chain 1 and turn your work. Now into, not that stitch, that's your chain 1, into the next stitch you're going to go only, from now on we're only going to use the back loops. Every single row will be a back loop double crochet, or if you're in the USA it's a back loop single crochet. We're going into the back loop of that stitch here. We're going into the back loop only. So that's my chain 1. Into the next stitch I'm going to put 3 double crochets in that back loop. So that's 1, but what I'm going to do is that 1 I'm going to mark it. So that's my last stitch when I come back. So that's 1, 2, 3. That's 3 stitches. Into the next one, that's 4. Into the back loop of the next one, that's 5. Into the back loop of the next one is 6. And into the back loop of the next one is 7. Now what you've got now is you've got 2 stitches here, and we're going to skip 1, 2 and 2 from this side. So we're going down and then we're going up. We're going to skip 2 stitches from here and 2 from the other side. So that's skip 4 stitches. Skip 1, 2, 3 and 4. Go into the back loop of the next stitch. That is stitch 1. Into the next one, that's stitch 2. Into the back loop for 3. Into the back loop, that's 4. So we're going into the back loop of your V, into the back loop. 4, that's 5, into the back loop 6, and into the back loop is 7, and you'll find you're at the top of the peak. So into the next stitch put 5 stitches. Into the back loop of that stitch you're going to put 5 UK double crochets, and if you're in the USA that's single crochets. In the back loop do 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now if anyone thinks I'm over explaining this, it's so beginners can do it. I like to know that beginners can do stitches that look complicated but they're not. I want everyone to be able to crochet. So into the next stitch, into your next back loop, that is stitch 1, we're going to work 7 down. 1, into the next one, 2, work down, 3, 4, 5, 6, don't let it twist, and 7. We're going to skip 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So skip 1, 2, 3, make sure I can see those. 1, 2, 3, 4, and into that next one, and that's stitch 1. We're going to work back up to the top of the peak. So that's stitch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Now into the back loop of the next stitch you're going to put 5 because you're at the top of the peak. So into that one put 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Into the next one we're going to work 7 stitches down. 1, 2, 3, some more yarn there, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Make sure it doesn't twist. Make sure it doesn't twist. So now we're at the bottom, we're going to skip 4. Skip 1, 2, 3 and 4 and go into the back loop of the next stitch, and that's stitch 1. We're going to work up and do 7. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Into the next stitch you're going to put 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now these 5 stitches, 2 will replace your 2 skipped here and the other 2 will be down here. So these 5 stitches replace the skipped ones. So into the next stitch, make sure it's not twisted. It will get easier to work. So into the next one we're going to do 7 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So we're at the bottom of a peak. So we're going to skip 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 and into the next one. So that's stitch 1. We're going to go 7 up. 1, 2 in the back loops. 3 in the back loop. 4 of that stitch. You've got your V stitch and you're going in the back loop. How many was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, into the next one 6, and then 7. Then put 5 into the back loop of the next stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to work our last 7 down, and we'll skip 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and we're going to skip 4, not around, make sure it's not twisted. 1, 2, 3, 4, and into the next one. Now you'll know that you've only got 5 stitches left here. This is your half peak, so that's 1. So into the next stitch, just turn that round the right way, don't get it twisted. That's 1, 2, into the next stitch is 3, into the next stitch is 4. So that's 4, 5, 6 and 7 all go into this last stitch, and that's why I've put the marker in. So into this last stitch you're going to put 3 stitches, 1, 2 and 3. Take your marker out, chain 1 and turn. So ignore the chain 1, don't do the chain 1, go into the next stitch and put 3, 1, I'm going to put my marker back into that, whoops, got it, I'm going to put my marker back into that first stitch of those 3. This is going to help beginners, it might even help you if you're experienced, to make sure that's the one where you put your 3 stitches. So that's 1, into the next one, into the beside that is 2, into the same stitch 3. So we've got 3 in that first stitch, and I've put a marker in the first one of those 3. So that is 3 stitches, so count 3, this one's 4, into the next one's 5, into the next one 6, and into the next one, into the back loops is 7. You're going to skip 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4, into the back loop of the next one, that's stitch 1, work 7 up, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Now into the next stitch put 5 double crochets into the back loop, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. You're going to work 7 down, skip 4, work 7 up, and then do 5 in the next stitch, work 7 down, skip 4, work 7 up the peak and put 5 into the top stitch, work 7 down, skip your 4, work 7 up, put 5 in the top of the peak, work 7 down, and your last little bit you'll be skip 4, you'll do 4 stitches and put 3 stitches into that last one. So I'm going to work down to here and I'll come back and remind you about the ends. So I've worked along and I've put 5 in the top of my last peak, and I'm going to work down this way. So I'm going to work 7 stitches down in the back loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Now I'm going to skip my 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, skip into the next one. That's 1. I should have 4 plus my pin. That's 1, 2, 3 and 4. And into my last stitch I'm going to put 3. So I'm going to take my marker out, and into the back loop of that one I'm going to put 3. So we've done 4, so that's 5, into the same stitch is 6, and into the same stitch is 7. So you put 3 into the last stitch, and that keeps your edge straight. So you're going to chain 1 and turn. Ignore the chain 1, and into the next stitch put 3. 1, 2 and 3, and I'm going to put my marker back in to that first stitch. So I've got 1, 2 and 3 into there. So I know that's where I have to put my 3 at the end. So I've got 3 in that stitch. Into the back loop, this one counts as 4, into the next one counts as 5, the next one counts as 6, and the next one counts as 7. So skip 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, into the next one. We're going to work up 7 stitches, so that's 1, 2. Make sure you count that stitch as number 1 once you've skipped them. So that's 1 and 2. Into the next one, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So into the top stitch, the next stitch you put 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and work down 7. We'll skip 4, work 7 up and put 5 into the top of the peak. 7 down, we're going to skip 4, 7 up, 5 into the top of the peak. So it'll be 7, skip 4, 7 back up and 5 into the top. 7, 4, and once you've skipped the 4 here, you'll have 4 stitches, and then you'll put 3 in the last stitch to make your 7, and you'll continue to do that row after row until, if it's a blanket, it's as big as you want. If it's a scarf, it's as long as you want, and I'll show you in the next video how to turn it into a hat. So I'm going to work down. I'll work to the end one last time for you, and I'll show you that little half part here at the end again. So this is what we have now, and this is how it's going to continue growing. 1, 2, 3, I've got my 4 peaks there. So I went down this last peak, and I'm going to skip 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So into the next one, that's stitch 1. Now remember, you'll have 4 going up here. 1, 2, into the next one is 3, and into the next one is 4. Then into the one with our little marker, we're going to put 3 stitches. So that'll make 5, 6 and 7. Numbers 5, 6 and 7. So into this one we're going to put 3. 1, 2 and 3. And that's your 1 stitch and 2 for the ones that you skipped here on this line. That's why we're putting 3 in. chain 1 and turn, skip the chain 1 and into the next stitch you'll put your 3, 1, 2 and 3. Now I'm going to put my marker back in to that first stitch of those 3. Just pop my marker in, and that way I'm not going to get lost when I'm at this little clump at the end. So that's 3. So into the next one counts 4. Into the back loop of the next one is 5. The next one is 6 and 7. Then it'll be skip 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And into the next loop is stitch 1 and work up 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, and into the top you're going to put 5 in the back loop. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Work 7 down, you'll skip 4, 7 up, do your 5, 7 down, skip 4 when you get down to the bottom one. And this is what gives you this lacy pattern. If you want it even lacier, you can use a bigger hook than what your yarn says, and it will stretch out. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 peaks in my 2 halves. So that was 4 sets of 19 plus 15 stitches when I did my foundation chain. So I've done enough for my hat. Now what I want you to remind you is, now look, you might think it's quite small. That's not going to be a hat when you fold it over. But look how much it's got in its stretch. It's quite stretchy. So it will do a young adult. Now what to remember is that when you're doing it, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 peaks plus my 2 halves, and once I've folded that and sewed it, that'll make another sort of area here. I've got my needle attached to my long tail end. I'm going to show you how to sew it in. But if you want this for a baby, maybe to someone about 8 years old, do 4 peaks. If you do a young adult or a small adult head, do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 peaks. And if you've got a bigger head, or the one that you're doing it for's got a slightly, if they've got a bigger head, then do 6 peaks. So do 6 sets of 19, or do 5 sets of 19, or 4 sets of 19. And then add your 15 that covers these 2 parts here. It keeps it symmetrical. And this is the pattern. Once it's had a little stretch out, all the little holes will show up nice and neat, and once it's on the head. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go stitch for stitch down here. Now this is the point. I'll come down a little bit. Now this is the point of this tail end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the point of this tail end and put my needle through. Now you'll just sew on your tail ends. If you've got a tail end down here, someone said with the last hat that I made that I didn't explain what to do with the tail ends. You sew your tail ends in. You just sew them in. You don't need to leave them dangling down. Just stitch it in so you can't see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to my next little stitch down here and my next stitch over here, and I'm going to just sew down this side. Just sew down the side. Just keep the tail end out of the way. Just catch your stitches through the stitches, back and forward. And once you get it done, I'm going to go back this way and through this stitch, and that should give it a flat seam. So if I do it this way, and if I put my hand in, then you can see where you're going. Just catch a stitch and catch a stitch and sew across. And then I'm going to catch this one and catch this one. It keeps the little spaces together as well. And then just pull it in. Then I'm going to go up, and I'll just go in through the loop this time. In through the loop. If you can catch a stitch, then catch a stitch. So up one, I'm going to go through that one, and I'm going to come through underneath in this one. Just sew up your seam. Just take your time and sew up the seam, and you'll get a nice flat joining at the seam. So when it's pulled and it's on your head, you're not going to distinguish any of these from any of these. The only difference is I've got that colour showing, but there's nothing I can do about that. But you can make this any colour you want, any yarn you want. I'm just going to go through and catch that stitch. Now what I'm going to do is, just to seal it a little bit better, every now and then I'll just put a little over stitch in. It's just going to give it a little bit extra grip. And then move up. I'm going to do that all the way up. Now what I think I might do for this section, I'll go and find my yarn. I've got a little bit left. I'm going to find some red to sew up here. I don't want that purple there because you'll see it. So I'm just going to stitch up the purple, and then I'll change the colour of my yarn to that red. I'll see if I've got a little bit of it left. And under that stitch. So I'm going to work my way back down just a little bit, and then I'm going to change to the maybe the red, so it's not so noticeable. Just little stitches, and then I'll just take my yarn in, weave it around where some of that purple is, like that. I'll cut the yarn, there we go, and I'm going to change the colour. I'm going to hide that end and pull it in there to hide it, and then just work my way down. And that way it's going to blend in. Work my way down to where I finished that purple. I'm going to go over there and in. And then start my sewing again. And we'll just sew up this hat. So I've sewed it up to the joint here and left these two ends because it's 2 peaks. I know I said sew it right up there, but I made a mistake there. So we're only going to sew it up to here, to this joint here. Now I'm going to put a few over sewn stitches in just to hold it securely, because we're going to gather up the top part of the hat like this. We're going to gather it up, and all these little flames are going to be, these little peaks will be the crown of the hat, and you've got the rest of your hat here. So this one's got 5 sets of 19 and 1 set of 15 on it. If you want it bigger, do 6 sets of 19 and your 1 set of 15. Now remember, the 15 is these 2 ends that are here, like I explained already, and your hat will stretch open. Look at that, that is going to stretch out, and you're going to see that beautiful pattern, that absolutely beautiful pattern. I'll move my camera up a little bit. So what you're going to do now is, once you've sewn up to here, up to where it makes the 2 peaks, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull that down so that it's doubled over. Now if you get that end, you can sew it in. We'll do it so that it disappears into the hat. So double up your yarn, it'll give it a little bit of extra strength. Now I'm going to pull it down enough that that tail end will disappear inside there, just to hide the tail end. Now in my last video, some people says, what about that little tail end? But you can have that on the inside of the hat. But we'll try and do it so that if you pull that tail end in almost till it disappears, and then do a little over sew, just put 1 stitch in, and there you go, it's hidden that end. Just pull these in, and there you go, it's doubled over, so just hide the end in. Now what I'm going to do is, along here, I'll go down 1 little stitch. So all around here, just on this pattern, all around here, I'm just going to do a little gathering stitch like this, in and out, in and out, like that. A little running stitch, and I'm going to come along the bottom part of these peaks. This is going to pull the hat in. This is why we're kind of cheating, and you don't have an increase and decrease on this hat. Just run it across that bottom part of the V, then keep it straight around here, across there like that. That's where we're sewing. Just across, in and out, and in and out. Pick up some stitches, and it's a great way to make children's hats as well. In and out, and we're back at the beginning where we started. So this is what you have. You've got your stitch running around. Now just gently pull it. Just gently pull it in. Pull it, pull, 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 and that is going to gather up the top of your hat like this. Now once you've got it quite tight, I'm going to wrap it around just the 1 time, wrap it around and pull it and hold it, and then stitch it in, just to pull and hold that yarn. Just stitch it in through there to hold it, and that's gathered the top of your hat closed. Do you know what, it looks like a Christmas poinsettia, that, doesn't it? So I'm going to push my needle right through to the other end and do the same. Just put a few stitches in to hold it securely. few stitches in and then push it through the other side, and this is going to hold this securely. Now what I'm going to do is a couple of stitches to hold it nice and secure. I'm going to push my needle through and up through the middle, and then I'm going to cut the end so it disappears. Cut the tail end so it disappears, and you've just sewed yourself a hat. Now look at that, there is your hat, and that's the top of your hat. And what you can do is, if you want, you can turn your edge up, and it's made this beautiful pixie hat. Now it doesn't look like much until you can fold this up if you want as well, if you don't want them in your face. And then look at that, it's a really pretty hat. This is a beautiful hat. It's absolutely beautiful. Just give that a little pull so that all your little ends in here all come back out, and there you go. You can have it down like that, and that's your pattern. Or you can fold it up. Do you know, it looks like one of those little bluebells, doesn't it? It looks like a little bluebell type flower hat. So thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Help me get up to 300,000 subscribers. I'm at 269 at the moment. So my next little goal, I don't get nothing for it, and I don't get any money from subscribers. It's completely free to subscribe to the channel. It just makes your channel look better, and you've got a more chance of being recommended on YouTube for people to watch your videos as well. And if you click on the bell icon, YouTube will tell you when I put up another tutorial. So until the next time, give us a try, happy crafting, and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.